Trust is not built in a moment, it is built in the moments you don't think anyone is watching. The most powerful currency we carry isn't money, it's trust, and it takes time to earn. You can demand respect, but you can never demand trust. It has to be cultivated. When we think about trust, many people imagine it as something that should be given right away, something that appears the moment you meet someone or enter into a new relationship. But the truth is, trust is not a lightning strike. It is not an instant revelation. It is not something that can be demanded or expected at the snap of a finger. Trust is a process. It is something that unfolds layer by layer, moment by moment, through a series of experiences that show us whether someone's words, intentions, and actions are aligned. And like any process, it requires patience, awareness, and repetition. Imagine planting a seed in the soil. You don't drop it into the ground and expect it to bloom into a tree overnight. You don't stand over it, tapping your foot, demanding it grow on your timeline. You know instinctively that growth takes time. You water it, you give it sunlight, and you wait. Slowly it begins to sprout. Over time, the roots dig deeper into the earth. The stem strengthens, and eventually it grows into something you can lean on. Something that can withstand storms. Trust works in the same way. It begins as a small seed, a moment of honesty, a promise kept, a truth revealed. But that seed will only grow into something reliable and sturdy if it is consistently nurtured. The human mind is designed to protect us. For thousands of years, survival meant being cautious of who we allowed into our circles. Our ancestors had to be careful about who they trusted, because the wrong alliance could mean danger, betrayal, or loss. That ancient part of us still lives on today. Our subconscious mind is constantly scanning for signals of safety or threat, reliability or inconsistency. When someone speaks one way but behaves another, we notice. When someone makes a promise but doesn't follow through, even in small ways, it registers. These tiny inconsistencies chip away at trust before it has had the chance to truly take root. Trust, then, is built through repetition. When someone shows up consistently, when their actions echo their words again and again, our brain slowly begins to quiet the alarms. The nervous system relaxes. We no longer need to be on guard, and instead, we open ourselves to connection. That process cannot be rushed because it is encoded in the very biology of who we are. Just like the body does not heal instantly, but through gradual regeneration, trust does not form in a single moment, but through a steady accumulation of evidence over time. Think of your own life. Think about the relationships where you feel the deepest sense of trust. Was it immediate? Or did it grow through countless little interactions, the way someone listened when you spoke, the way they supported you when you were vulnerable, the way they showed up when they said they would? Trust doesn't live in grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It lives in the small, consistent acts that prove reliability. And just as trust grows through process, it can also be destroyed quickly when that process is disrupted. A single betrayal, a single act that contradicts the pattern of reliability, can uproot years of cultivation. Why? Because the mind and body are wired to notice danger more sharply than safety. Evolution taught us to overemphasize threats because missing one threat could be fatal. So if trust is a process of steady building, it is also a process that requires constant tending, constant nourishment, and constant alignment. This is why demanding trust never works. You cannot ask someone to skip the process. You cannot insist that they place their faith in you before you have given them the evidence their body and mind require. The process cannot be cheated because trust is not intellectual. It is not a rational decision made in the mind alone. It is embodied, it is felt. It is written in the nervous system, in the way your heart responds, in the way your body relaxes or tenses around another person. So when we understand trust as a process, we begin to approach it differently. We stop seeing it as something we can take for granted. We stop seeing it as something owed to us simply because of who we are or the role we play. Instead, we see it as something we must continually cultivate, the way we cultivate health, the way we cultivate growth, the way we cultivate love. It requires our presence, it requires our patience, it requires a willingness to show up consistently, even when no one is watching, even when it feels slow, even when we wish it could move faster. This process-based perspective is liberating. It means that trust is not about perfection. It is about direction. It is about demonstrating again and again that your words and your actions are moving in the same line, that you are reliable not just once, but repeatedly. And over time, that reliability becomes a pattern. That pattern becomes a foundation. And that foundation becomes the kind of trust that does not waver easily, the kind of trust that can withstand storms, the kind of trust that deepens connection in ways that instant promises never can. At the core of trust lies something deeper than words or promises. It is the felt sense of safety. Human beings are wired for connection, but we are also wired for protection. The brain and body carry an ancient system that is always asking a fundamental question: am I safe here? Only when the answer is yes does trust begin to form. This is not a choice we make consciously. It is not a matter of intellect or logic. It is a biological process written into the nervous system, a process that has been with us since the earliest stages of human evolution. Think about how the body reacts when you walk into a room full of strangers. Your heart rate shifts, your breath shortens, and your senses heighten. Without even realizing it, your nervous system is scanning every face, every tone of voice, every subtle gesture. You are searching for signs, signals that let you know if this is a safe environment or if you should remain guarded. This automatic process is called neuroception, and it happens before thought. It is the body's way of detecting whether someone or something is trustworthy. Only after repeated signals of safety do we allow the walls to lower, the body to relax, and the heart to open. Trust, then, is inseparable from safety. A person may say the right words, but if their energy, their tone, or their behavior sends a signal of danger, the body will not open. The nervous system does not listen to words. It listens to patterns. It listens to consistency. It listens to whether the person in front of us aligns with what they express. This is why trust takes time. The body needs enough repeated experiences of safety to shift out of defense and into connection. When we feel safe, something extraordinary happens inside us. The body begins to regulate differently. The stress hormones that flood us when we are uncertain or threatened start to subside. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, begins to flow, allowing us to feel warmth, closeness, and care. The brain shifts from survival mode into a state of openness, creativity, and empathy. In this state, trust becomes possible because the body is no longer protecting itself against a perceived danger. Safety creates the conditions in which trust can grow naturally. Consider the relationships in your life where you feel deeply connected. You will likely notice that what makes you feel safe with that person is not grand promises but simple, repeated cues. The way they listen without judgment, the way they remember small details, the way their tone conveys sincerity, the way their actions mirror their words. These signals tell your nervous system, I am safe here, and over time, this safety forms the foundation upon which trust is built. The science of connection also shows us why broken trust can feel so devastating. When trust is violated, the nervous system shifts instantly back into protection. The body remembers the betrayal as a danger signal, and once recorded, it takes time and consistency to overwrite that memory with new experiences of safety. This is why rebuilding trust is far more difficult than building it the first time. The nervous system, once wounded, becomes cautious, requiring even more repetition, more reliability, and more alignment before it is willing to believe again. Safety is not just about what is spoken, but about what is embodied. A person can say, "You can trust me," but if their eyes dart nervously, if their energy feels inconsistent, if their behavior does not align, the nervous system will not feel safe. Trust requires coherence. It requires a match between intention, expression, and action. When all three align, the body relaxes and connection deepens. Without that alignment, words are empty and trust remains out of reach. This is why in building trust with others, the most important gift we can offer is presence. Presence is more than being physically there. It is bringing the full alignment of our attention, energy, and integrity into the moment. When we are present, when we are listening fully, when our words and actions reflect truth, the other person's nervous system receives the signal, "I am safe with you." That is the essence of connection. That is the soil in which trust grows, and this does not apply only to relationships with others. It applies equally to the relationship we hold with ourselves. If we do not feel safe within our own body, if our nervous system is constantly in survival mode, we cannot fully extend trust to others. When we break promises to ourselves, when we live in misalignment with our own values, we send danger signals within our own biology. To build trust externally, we must first cultivate safety internally. We must teach our own nervous system that it can rely on us, that we will show up for ourselves, that we will align our actions with our intentions. So trust is not simply about belief, it is about biology. It is not just about choosing to trust. It is about the body feeling safe enough to allow trust to emerge. This is why time is necessary. Time allows the nervous system to gather enough data to shift from uncertainty to confidence, from protection to openness, from isolation to connection. The science of safety reveals that trust cannot be forced, but it can be nurtured through consistency, alignment, and presence. When we look at the foundation of trust, one truth rises above all else. Trust is built not on occasional gestures, but on consistency. It is easy to make promises in the moment. It is easy to speak words that sound convincing, to project an image of reliability, or to create the illusion of strength. But the nervous system, the heart, and the subconscious mind are not persuaded by isolated moments. They are persuaded by patterns. What truly matters is what someone does repeatedly, what they show day after day, and how their actions align with their words over time. Consistency is what transforms possibility into certainty. Think of consistency as the rhythm of trust. Just as the heartbeat is steady, just as the rising and setting of the sun creates stability in our lives, trust requires a rhythm we can rely on. The mind and body crave predictability because predictability reduces fear. When someone behaves in ways that are consistent with their values, when their words and actions align over and over, the nervous system registers this predictability as safety. It says, "I know what to expect here. I can relax." That relaxation is the first step toward trust. Without consistency, promises are fragile. Imagine someone tells you they will be there for you, and one time they show up, but the next time they don't. Imagine someone tells you that they value honesty, but occasionally they hide the truth. Each inconsistency plants doubt, and doubt is the opposite of certainty. The nervous system cannot rest in doubt. It keeps scanning, it keeps searching, it keeps preparing for disappointment, and in this state of vigilance, trust cannot thrive. On the other hand, when someone is consistent, even in the smallest things, the body remembers. It remembers the times they followed through. It remembers the tone of their voice that matched their actions. It remembers the comfort of reliability. With each repetition, the foundation of certainty grows stronger, and certainty is what allows us to place trust not blindly, but with the evidence of lived experience. Consistency also creates identity. Over time, repeated actions become who we are in the eyes of others. If someone shows kindness once, it may be seen as a momentary act. But if someone shows kindness every day, in their words, in their choices, in the way they treat others, kindness becomes their identity. In the same way, if someone demonstrates honesty repeatedly, honesty becomes part of their essence in the minds of others. It is no longer something they claim, it is something they are. And this shift from behavior to identity is what creates certainty that lasts. Consider how nature teaches us about consistency. The waves of the ocean crash endlessly against the shore, the seasons cycle without fail, the stars appear night after night. Because of this, we trust nature. We trust that the sun will rise tomorrow because it has risen every day of our lives. We trust that spring will follow winter because it always has. In this way, consistency creates certainty at the deepest level. When applied to relationships and human behavior, the same principle holds true. We trust those who move like the cycles of nature, steady, reliable, and aligned. It is important to understand that consistency does not mean perfection. No one can live without error, no one can meet every expectation, no one can predict every circumstance. But consistency means showing up even in imperfection. It means acknowledging when we fall short, and then following through on the commitment to realign. It means taking responsibility and repairing trust when needed, instead of pretending that inconsistency did not happen. This kind of integrity within consistency strengthens trust because it demonstrates honesty, humility, and reliability, even in difficult moments. Consistency is also what rewires the brain. Trust is not built in the conscious mind alone. It is built in the subconscious through repetition. The more times the nervous system experiences reliability, the more it encodes safety as the expected outcome. This is the process of creating certainty. Just as the brain forms habits through repeated action, trust forms through repeated alignment. Over time, the body stops bracing for disappointment and begins to relax into expectation. That relaxation is what opens the door to deeper connection, because certainty eliminates the constant question of whether someone will show up or not. When we look at our own lives, the question is not whether we can make grand promises, but whether we can be consistent in small actions. Trust is not built in monumental moments alone. It is built in the quiet, unseen choices, keeping your word even when it is inconvenient, showing up when no one is watching, speaking the truth even when it is uncomfortable. These are the daily rhythms that create certainty. These are the patterns that build trust so strong that it can withstand challenges and storms, and this principle does not only apply to our relationships with others, it applies equally to the relationship we hold with ourselves. If we tell ourselves we will change a habit but constantly break that promise, our internal trust erodes. The subconscious mind stops believing in our own words. But when we consistently follow through, even in small ways, we create certainty within ourselves. That internal certainty becomes confidence, and confidence radiates outward, influencing how others perceive us. Trust in ourselves is the root of trust with others, and both grow through the soil of consistency. So when we speak about trust, we must remember that it cannot be built in a single act of sincerity, no matter how genuine it feels in the moment. Trust is a pattern. Trust is repetition. Trust is created when consistency transforms words into lived reality. And when consistency is present, certainty follows, and with certainty comes the unshakable foundation upon which trust is able to stand if trust is a process. Then vulnerability is the bridge that allows that process to move forward. Without vulnerability, trust remains shallow, surface level, and fragile. Vulnerability is the act of lowering our guard, of revealing something real, something tender, something that could be misunderstood or even rejected. It is the willingness to be seen in our imperfection, and while vulnerability can feel risky, it is the very thing that creates connection, because it invites others into authenticity. Where there is no vulnerability, there can be no deep trust, because trust cannot thrive in a space of masks and defenses. From the time we are young, we are taught to hide our vulnerabilities. We are taught to present strength, to show confidence, to avoid looking weak. Yet, paradoxically, the relationships we value most are those where someone has shown us their authentic self. Think of the moments when someone close to you shared their struggles, their doubts, or their fears. Did you feel less connected to them, or did you feel drawn closer? Most often, it is in those moments of openness that trust deepens, because we sense honesty. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is truth in motion. And truth is the foundation upon which trust can stand. Biologically, vulnerability is also tied to the science of trust. When someone expresses something vulnerable, they are signaling safety to the other person. Why? Because to reveal something vulnerable is to lower defenses. The nervous system interprets this as a sign that the person is not preparing for attack but inviting connection. In response, the listener's nervous system often shifts as well, lowering its own guard and opening in return. This mutual lowering of defenses creates resonance and emotional synchronization where two people feel aligned. That resonance is what builds the bridge of trust. Vulnerability is powerful because it bypasses the mind's defenses. Logic can be questioned, promises can be doubted, appearances can be deceiving, but when someone speaks vulnerably, when they share their pain, their hopes, or their truth, it reaches beyond logic and speaks directly to the heart. We recognize ourselves in the vulnerability of others because at our core, every human being knows what it means to feel afraid, to feel uncertain, to feel longing. Vulnerability creates connection through recognition. It reminds us that we are not alone, that the person before us is not performing but revealing something real. However, vulnerability does not come instantly. Just as trust requires time, vulnerability requires a sense of safety. The paradox is clear. We need trust to feel safe enough to be vulnerable, yet vulnerability is the very thing that creates deeper trust. The way forward is through gradual openness. A small act of vulnerability invites a small act of trust in return. Over time, this exchange deepens, creating a spiral of connection that grows stronger with each interaction. One person reveals, the other responds with acceptance, and trust expands. In many relationships, the absence of vulnerability keeps people from truly knowing one another. They may interact, they may even spend years together, but if they are always guarded, always hiding, always presenting only what they think the other wants to see, trust remains shallow. There may be civility, there may be surface-level cooperation, but the foundation is fragile because it has never been tested by truth. Vulnerability is the test. It is what shows us whether someone will hold our truth with care or with judgment. And when that truth is held with care, trust deepens in ways that cannot be manufactured. Vulnerability is not only about sharing struggles, it is also about sharing dreams, desires, and hopes. To tell someone what you truly want in life, to reveal the vision of who you wish to become, is to expose a tender part of yourself. It is to say, this is what matters to me, and to risk the possibility that it may not matter to them. When those dreams are met with encouragement instead of dismissal, trust grows. Vulnerability is also in joy, in love, In expression, it is the act of revealing the authentic self, whether in pain or in passion. In the modern world, vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness. Yet true strength is the ability to be open without certainty of the outcome. It takes courage to be vulnerable, because courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. When someone is vulnerable, they are embodying courage, and courage inspires trust. We trust those who have the bravery to be real, because their openness signals integrity. On a deeper level, vulnerability is also how we align with ourselves. When we refuse to be vulnerable, when we always present an image instead of our truth, we create internal dissonance. We are no longer living in coherence with who we truly are. Over time, this erodes not only external trust, but internal trust as well. We begin to distrust ourselves because we are not honoring our authentic voice. By choosing vulnerability, we reclaim that alignment. We teach ourselves that it is safe to be who we are, and that self-trust becomes the foundation for trusting others. Every bridge of trust, whether in personal relationships, teams, or communities, is built plank by plank through vulnerability. The first plank may be small, a moment of honesty, an admission of uncertainty, a sharing of feelings. But each plank laid invites another in return, until eventually a sturdy bridge connects two people, strong enough to carry the weight of challenges and storms. Without vulnerability, the bridge is never built, and connection remains separated by a gap that no amount of pretense can close. When we dare to be vulnerable, we invite others to do the same. Our openness becomes permission for them to lower their guard. In this way, vulnerability is not only a personal choice, but a gift we offer to others. It says, "It is safe here. You can be real with me." And when that gift is received, trust becomes not just a possibility, but a reality at its essence. Trust is not only a psychological state or a social agreement. It is an energetic exchange that flows between people. Long before words are spoken, long before promises are made, we feel whether someone is aligned with truth or not. We sense it in the tone of their voice, in the look in their eyes, in the resonance of their presence. This is because trust operates at a frequency deeper than language. It is coherence in motion, a vibration of integrity that either strengthens or fractures connection. When two people interact, there is always an exchange of energy. This exchange is invisible but deeply felt. You know the sensation, walking into a room where someone's presence feels grounding, where you can relax without needing to analyze why. Or, by contrast, being around someone whose words may sound right, yet something about their energy leaves you uneasy. This is the subtle field of trust. It is not built through logic alone, but through the alignment of energy, the coherence between inner truth and outer action. Energy exchange is constant because human beings are wired to sense congruence. When someone's words say one thing but their energy communicates another, the body registers the dissonance immediately. You might not be able to explain it logically, but you feel it, a hesitation, a tightening in the chest, a sense that something doesn't match. This is the energetic signal of misalignment. Trust cannot take root in misalignment because the body does not feel safe in incoherence. Coherence, on the other hand, creates ease. When someone's words, actions, and energy flow in the same direction, the nervous system relaxes, and trust begins to grow naturally. This is why integrity is at the core of trust as energy exchange. Integrity is not just moral uprightness, it is energetic coherence. It is the alignment between thought, feeling, word, and action. When all four are consistent, the energy a person radiates is clear, steady, and trustworthy. People may not consciously analyze integrity, but they feel it in the exchange. A person in integrity radiates stability. Their energy communicates, "You can rely on me." And the body of the other responds by opening, by softening, by extending trust. On the flip side, when integrity is fractured, when thoughts and feelings are hidden, when words disguise intention, when actions contradict expression, the energetic field becomes fragmented. Others sense this fragmentation as unease. Even if nothing has been explicitly broken, trust erodes in these moments because the energy of misalignment signals danger. The exchange is no longer clean. The flow of connection is disrupted. Trust as energy exchange also explains why presence is so powerful. Presence is not just physical proximity. It is the quality of energy we bring into a moment. When we are fully present, our energy communicates availability, attentiveness, and care. The person we are with feels that they matter, that they are safe to express themselves, that they are not being judged or dismissed. This energetic presence builds trust even without words. But when we are distracted, when our body is present but our energy is scattered, the other person feels the disconnection. The exchange becomes weakened and trust diminishes. This energetic dimension of trust also extends to collective spaces. In a team, a family, or a community, the collective energy sets the tone for how much trust can flourish. If the group radiates fear, competition, or disconnection, individuals within it feel guarded, unable to fully open. But if the group radiates respect, safety, and alignment, trust flows more freely. Each individual contributes energy to the field, and the sum of those contributions creates either coherence or chaos. Trust, then, is not just built on one, but through the collective frequency of the environment. Energy exchange also applies to the relationship we hold with ourselves. When we act against our own values, when we ignore our intuition, when we betray our own boundaries, we fracture internal trust. The energy within us becomes incoherent, and this incoherence radiates outward. Others may not know what is wrong, but they feel the instability. Conversely, when we honor ourselves, when we align our actions with our deepest truths, we create internal coherence. This inner trust radiates as confidence, clarity, and steadiness, which others feel immediately. Trust with the self becomes the foundation for trust with others. This energetic perspective helps us understand why trust is fragile yet powerful. A single act of misalignment can fracture it, because the energy shifts suddenly and unmistakably. But consistent alignment over time can build it into something unshakable, because the energy of integrity becomes a steady frequency that others learn to rely on. In this way, trust is not simply something we think about, it is something we embody, something we emit, something we cultivate as an energetic presence. When trust is flowing, it feels like resonance, two energies vibrating in harmony. Conversations feel natural, silences feel comfortable, and collaboration feels effortless. When trust is broken, the resonance is lost, and what once felt smooth becomes heavy, strained, or distant. Repairing trust, therefore, is not just about words or explanations, it is about realigning energy. It requires returning to coherence, restoring integrity, and allowing the frequency of safety to reestablish itself through presence, consistency, and truth. To see trust as energy exchange is to recognize that we are constantly communicating, not only through language, but through the field of who we are. Every gesture, every tone, every choice carries energy that either builds trust or diminishes it. This awareness invites us to live in greater alignment, to cultivate coherence between our inner truth and our outer expression, and to honor the energetic bridge we are always building with others. Trust in this light is not something external to us. It is the vibration we carry, the resonance we emit, the energy we choose to exchange moment by moment. Trust is not a single act, nor is it something we can demand from others. It is a living process that unfolds over time, rooted in biology, nurtured through consistency, strengthened by vulnerability, and expressed as an energetic exchange. To understand trust is to see that it is both science and art, the science of the nervous system searching for safety, and the art of human connection built on truth, alignment, and presence. We have seen that trust begins as a seed. It requires patience, nurturing, and repeated signals before it can grow strong enough to withstand the storms of life. It cannot be rushed, because the body and mind must first learn that safety exists. We have seen that trust flourishes through consistency, through the patterns of reliability that create certainty not in words but in lived experience. And we have seen that vulnerability is the bridge, the courageous act of opening the heart, lowering defenses, and inviting another into authenticity. Without it, connection remains shallow. With it, trust becomes deep and enduring. Finally, trust is energy in motion. It is the resonance created when thought, word, feeling, and action align. It is the coherence of integrity that others feel long before they analyze it. When we live in this alignment, when our energy is steady and true, we create a field where trust can flow effortlessly. Trust takes time because it is built in layers: biological, emotional, and energetic. It takes time because the nervous system needs repetition, the heart needs vulnerability, and the spirit needs coherence. But when it is cultivated with care, it becomes one of the most powerful forces we can experience. It becomes the foundation of love, of collaboration, of healing, and of transformation. Trust is not only something we give or receive, it is something we become moment by moment as we live in truth, alignment, and presence with ourselves and with others.